Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Hey, we do good.
Hey! My mom was born on January 8th, 1936, to two loving parents, Hazel and Leonard Carlson. She was their firstborn. My Uncle Vern came along 2 years later, then my Uncle Rob. She was born during the Great Depression and before World War II. Given the economic uncertainties of that time, you would think she would share stories with me of how tough life was back then. Thanks to my grandparents, my mom and her brothers had a pretty good life growing up in Bessemer, Michigan. My mom was a pretty busy kid. She excelled in school, and even though she missed many months of her sophomore year of high school when she was sick with rheumatic fever, she still managed to graduate with honors. She went on to Northern Michigan University, which was a teaching college back then, and she got a bachelor's degree in education in 1958. My mom taught elementary school in Michigan for several years, then decided to head out west to sunny California. She settled in the San Diego area teaching first grade. She took a break from teaching to be a stay-at-home mom when my brother and I came along. She came back to teaching as a substitute when I started kindergarten. One time she got the call that she would be substituting for my kindergarten class the next day. I remember that we had to go to the neighbor's house very early so they could get us on the bus to school the next morning. I was so excited that my mom was going to be my teacher that day, so of course I peed my pants on the way to school. When I arrived to school, I had to make that walk of shame to the office to get a replacement pair of pants for the day. The next year, we had to do a school project which included the names of each of your family members. So my brother's name was Chris, my dad's name was Roger, and my mom's name was Mrs. Jensen. This was back in the 1970s, where we always addressed our teachers as Mrs. or Mr. So-and-so, so we never knew their first names. So of course I didn't know my mom's first name. Family was everything to my mom. She grew up in a small town where lots of her extended family lived. Her mom came from a large family, so she had a great relationship with lots of aunties, uncles, and cousins. Her most favorite time in her life was becoming a mom. I think I've heard the story of my birth at least 1,000 times. My mom had a lot of personal and financial struggles when I was young, especially after my parents divorced. I never knew how dire things were until I was much older. My mom often shared the story of how when she divorced my dad, she was left with $11 in her checking account, a broken down car, and 2 kids. She worked 2 jobs over the next several years to get herself in better financial status. Even though my mom had a lot of hurt and anger toward my dad in those early years after they divorced, she insisted that he be a part of our lives, and for that I'm grateful. Because of her, I had a great relationship with my dad well into my adult years until he passed away in 2004. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. Yay! My mom had a lot of friends and acquaintances over the years, but she had 2 best friends named Shirley and Celeste that were part of her inner circle. They met in a therapy group in the early 1970s, and they remained close friends for many decades. I like to think of them as the Golden Girls. They would take girls' weekend trips several times a year to interesting locations around the Midwest. They would stay up late playing cards, laughing, and joking around. Now, they didn't play cards for money, but they did have this traveling trophy that would get awarded to whomever won the most card games on a particular weekend. My mom always looked forward to these weekend getaways, and I think from her, I learned the importance of maintaining good friendships.
Hi, Anthony. This is Nanny. I really miss you.
My mom's most cherished role would not come until later in life when she became a grandma. Anthony arrived to our house on January 2nd, 2009, when he was 6 months old. My mom finally got to meet him 3 days later, and love at first sight is an understatement at how she felt about this kid from the moment she set eyes on him. Although she saw him all the time, every time I talked to her on the phone, she had to get an update on Anthony. She often relayed her Anthony stories to all the ladies that lived in her senior building, so when I brought him over to visit, they all doted on him like he was famous. My mom declared that she wanted to be known as Nana, and Anthony could call Kevin's mom Grandma. Well, once Anthony started to talk, it was a little confusing to him, since Nana was also the yellow fruit that you peel to eat. So he started to call her Nanny, and it stuck. She was forever Nanny to us. Anthony was a light in her life and brought her so much joy up until the very end. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear,
How much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine
sunshine